Hello everyone. Did you read the new paper by Zharkova? Clearly even some of the people who are making videos and doing articles about it didn't actually read it. Today is the day when many of you learned that what has been said at this channel for over a year has been absolutely true. Why Zharkova is in this community. Some of the people you thought were leading you in this enlightened push towards understanding a grand solar minimum, you'll understand just how little they actually do understand about what's going on. So let's take a look, shall we?
Dr. Valentina Zharkova, after successfully wrangling the second, third, and fourth most watched grand solar minimum information outlets on YouTube, not to mention thousands of their fans, by waddling, quacking, and wearing a beak and green wig, we find this to be no mallard at all. Today, the attempt to take all those with the eyes to have seen it coming, who have become fans of her, Zharkovites as I call them, and dash their beliefs fostered over the last year or longer. Let's run through it. Number one, the grand solar minimum is still coming this century. No way of getting around that, but it's not the situation she described last year and used to garner your trust. Her timeline for its beginning soon, not so far off, and about the high note of that paper. Number two, no more ice age. The description she gave of a major drop in temperatures, like the last mini ice age or worse, which was used to keep your attention through fear and confirmation of what you've heard here for nearly a decade, has now flip-flopped on that side. Although they do say temperatures will drop in the coming grand minima, she now predicts global temperatures will rise by more than a degree by the end of the century and likely exceed the 2.5 degree warming mark by 2600. Why 2600? That's number three. Because the grand solar collapse is no longer on her forecast. The Maunder minimum now stands as the minimum moment in their model, and we currently are on the upswing back to maximum in 2600, according to them. Very different than what you heard last year. Number four, about that Maunder period, which in their model is the minimum of activity, has already passed. While charting reconstruction guesses and models of irradiance and magnetic fields, they forgot the Sporer minimum, which when viewed from a sunspot perspective, reveals it to be the real minimum. We just reviewed that on our channel a few days ago. This is not a mistake a dedicated solar scientist would make, and these are engineers, mathematicians, and earth scientists on this paper. By the way, their model is in fact not going to produce the 12,000-year cycle, as none of these long-term models based on the solar dynamo are able to do. Last but not least, while striking a righteous chord and blaming the sun for temperature changes on Earth, salt in the wound of the forecasted continued warming is her blaming all of this on gravity physics, the barycenter of the solar system, and not a single word about the other electromagnetic ways in which we interact. I have not yet seen her acknowledge the Earth-to-Sun connection in the interplanetary magnetic field or its implications in these models. Instead, always focused on irradiance, just like her colleagues at the IPCC. At best, we could say this is a weird flip-flop from last year. In truth, I told you last year's version was extreme and full of mistakes that would only be made by someone who studies the Earth, not the Sun. At worst, this was the plan all along. Quack like a duck, lead you into water, then fire up the global warming propeller, and fly away with your misconceptions and trust in the cold future of Earth utterly shaken. The grand solar minimum is coming. This coming solar cycle should likely be a significant step down into it, and it will throw a far greater wrench into the long-term warming of Earth than this new paper would have you believe. I am not going to show the emails from her over the last 2 years, but the isolated interactions also painted a fluctuating and unstable position on these matters. That is why they went with guesses and models, rather than sunspots. The IPCC is the one so focused on irradiance. Solar physicists know better, by at least a particle or two.
Quack, quack. Eyes open. No fear.